Hey, welcome back to my channel. Shaun Stevenson here, author of the Throne series, and I really wanted to do a spoiler talk review of Goosebumps, House of Shivers, Scariest Book Ever. I have a lot of thoughts about this book and some things I want to say with spoilers involved, so this is your warning now. If you do not want to know what happens in this book, if you do not want to have anything spoiled for you, go check out my spoiler-free review of this book and check out that one instead of this. This is going to be a spoiler-filled talk about Goosebumps House of Shivers, Scariest Book Ever. So, you've been warned. Have you been warned? Yes, you have. So, leave now. This is your last chance before I dive into the spoilers. All right, let's dive into the spoilers. So, Goosebumps House of Shivers, Scariest Book Ever. This book, I was excited to read this because, like I have said previously, I've actually not read a ton of the old Goosebumps series. I have seen almost every episode of the old television show from the 90s, and I've seen a lot of Haunting Hours. I've seen a lot of R.L. Stine's shows that he's put out about Goosebumps and scary stories and things like that. But I had not read a ton of the Goosebumps books until last year when I started reading them. And so this one, I wanted to get in on the ground floor of the newest Goosebumps series since it was out, House of Shivers, and I bought this at a local independent bookstore, and I was excited to read it. So when I dove in, the first thing I gotta talk about is Billy and Betty. So these two characters are the main characters of this book, House of Shivers, and they fall into that really typical 90s banter style where Betty is kind of disdainful of Billy and is a little bit naggy of Billy sometimes, and I think that Billy comes across as a little whiny sometimes, which is a very typical Goosebumps setup for a boy and a girl main character, which I do think was interesting in one sense, and I don't think, right when I felt like, these kids are getting a little annoying, R.L. Stine kind of pulled them back. He made them very likable, so I really liked that about the two main characters. However, so they get dropped off at their Uncle Wendell's house right at the beginning of the book, and it's the middle of nowhere, They are going to stay with an uncle they've never met before, so they don't know what he looks like. And the parents, they know Uncle Wendell, but they have to get to some place to go get a flight to leave for where they're going. So they leave the kids on the front porch, even though Uncle Wendell is not answering the door. They figure, oh, he'll be back in a few minutes. So they leave him there. Now, this is the same exact setup as the Heebie-Jeebies book, number 4, Uncle from Another Planet. Go check out my review of that book because literally this is the same opening plot where they have not seen this uncle, they don't know what he looks like, the parents don't see Uncle Wendell, so they cannot confirm when Uncle Wendell does come out eventually that it's Uncle Wendell. So there, from the beginning I was thinking, okay, so I've been here before because I've read that Heebie-Jeebies book that came out in the 90s with the same exact thing where the kids are wondering, is this actually our uncle? So immediately I was clued off to, oh, this is not the real uncle. Somebody else is going to be the real uncle here. And so I thought that it was a good opening idea and a premise, and I'm sure not a lot of people have read the Heebie-Jeebies books, so not going to be a spoiled thing for a lot of people. But for me, I immediately thought, oh, it's going to be somebody else. That's not the uncle. Now, one of the things that's interesting about this book in particular is there are tons of odd, weird, almost fantasy-like supernatural characters throughout the book. So you have like these man bats that are on the front cover of the book. You know, these creatures here. You also have like cannibal crows, and you have like tentacles, and you have giant insects. There was like a lion type thing at one point in a cave. So you have like tons of creatures. And in the middle of the book, when the kids are exploring the forest, because Uncle Wendell, the fake Uncle Wendell, tells them they gotta go get the scariest book ever to protect it from these book thieves who are after the book. So as they're going through the forest, it's almost every single chapter there's a brand new creature introduced just over and over and over and over. And I thought that got a little repetitive in the middle when they're exploring the forest. I thought, oh, why are we just keep going back to this animal, this creature, that thing? And it was kind of one thing after the next. And then I was confirmed when Uncle Wendell left them behind in the quicksand. And I thought, oh, he's a bad person. I knew it. I called it from the beginning. So then, when they get back to the house after being in the woods for so long, and they find the real Uncle Wendell, I thought, oh, okay, so this is probably the real one. Because I thought he came across like having this little bit of bravado that I thought, oh, maybe that's what R.L. Stine's doing with this real uncle. And then I will say, the scene where they get locked in the safe. That to me was the scariest part of the book. Not any of the creatures, not any of the other things happening. That was the scariest part of the book for me, when they get locked in this safe by the fake Uncle Wendell, who is telling them he's going to go search for the book and get it, and they have to, go inside the safe. So I thought that was the scariest moment, because I felt the way R.L. Stine wrote it, I felt the claustrophobia and the being trapped in a small space, and I thought, I legit do not know how they're going to get out of this situation. They're really trapped in here and there is no way out. I don't know what they're going to do. And so when the false back of the safe was revealed, that made me think, oh, this really is the real Wendell. And then the great twist where there's actually a third person who is the real Wendell, I thought that was brilliant. Never saw it coming. I thought, oh, okay, I was convinced after the false back of the safe being shown. I thought, yeah, this is, the real Wendell. And then that there was a third person who was the real Wendell was great. I thought that was so good. Throughout the book, one of the things that they're doing is they're searching for the scariest book ever that Uncle Wendell has hidden in the house, and there are book thieves who are trying to get it because it is the scariest book ever. And one of the things that's revealed about the scariest book ever is that if it is opened, it will unleash evil and all kinds of creatures into the world. So this is where I go into what I think might be a setup for the rest of the series, and I kind of hope this is the case. Although the fact that all the other Goosebumps series before this have mainly been standalone anthology entries in a series, sometimes there's, sequels to things, but usually it doesn't bring back all the characters. It brings back some kind of monster or creature from it, like Night of the Living Dummy 2 or Monster Blood 2 does bring back, Evan and those characters. But I think that this book, the ending, really set up the possibility of what the House of Shivers series could be about. And especially with that book 2 is called Goblin Monday, makes me think this could be the case. So at the very end, when the two kids, Billy and Betty, have the scariest book ever, and they are trying to decide, should we open it just one peek? I thought, oh, please, let this be a setup for what's going to happen in the rest of the House of Shivers books, where they've opened this book, and now every single book after this takes place because they open the scariest book ever, and all these creatures, like the goblins coming on a Monday, are coming because of the fact they open the scariest book ever. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Like I said, I have not read the back matter of Goblin Monday, and I don't want to read it because I don't want to know anything. So I don't know if that's the case or not, or if this is going to be another anthology series, but I think this would be a really strong way to set up the Goosebumps House of Shivers in a way where there's could be the anthology piece, because really when Goosebumps came out in the 90s, there were not as many continuing series for kids in the sense that the same characters show up and they're still dealing with the same stuff like we do in books today, which really I think Harry Potter was what popularized that idea of this continuing series storyline for children's books. Because then now you have like Percy Jackson and Fablehaven and Adventurers Wanted and all these different series that do this, where it builds on itself. Back in the 90s, though, it was a lot of standalone stories where it was the same characters would show up again and again, but it was a totally new thing. And often there wasn't something built on from the previous books. So I think this would be the best way to bring forward the Goosebumps House of Shivers series to 2023, where we kind of expect some continuity between books, but we also lean on that 90s nostalgia of Goosebumps, where we want it to be something that has that anthology feel where there's different kids. So to me, the combo of let's have different kids in every single book, and maybe Billy and Betty make some cameos here or there, Uncle Wendell makes a cameo here and there, but the main deal of the book is that this creature that's coming out of the scariest book ever is the antagonist of the book, or some kind of evil creature like that has come from the book. So I think, to me, that would be a really strong setup for this series. And if I was the editor, that's what I would have pushed for. But I am not the editor of these books. I'm not the writer of these books. It's up to R.L. Stine and his editors. So we'll see what happens. But R.L. Stine, if you're listening and you need to make a quick switch and switch things up, it's not too late to switch things around and make this series be along those lines. Anyways, I would love that. So those are just some of my spoiler thoughts about the Goosebumps House of Shivers book, Scariest Book Ever, book number 1. Have you read this book? What do you think about the plot developments, about the characters, all these different things? Like I said, I really enjoyed this one. In my non-spoiler review, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I hold by that. I think it was good. There was just that 1 star of stuff that I would have changed if I could, but that's all right. So until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye.